Story 1. People who rarely have anything positive to say about others, including themselves. Similarly, people who always talk only about themselves, whether positively or negatively. Story 2. Playfully insulting or blaming their spouse in front of others does not refer to actual playful banter. It refers to backhanded compliments or thinly veiled insults, especially when done publicly. Story 3. Waiting to hold the door for people. Going out of your way to be kind to others. Politeness to those who often get ignored or treated differently. Edit. Holy smokes. I received 6 awards for my comment. Thank you so much for the support. Story 4. Treating those you do not find attractive as unworthy of respect or kindness shows that you see everyone as a potential love interest and do not believe in platonic relationships. This is the biggest red flag, and I will end any type of relationship over it. Story 5. How anyone treats someone who owes them nothing, such as janitors, wait staff, or customer service people, never fails to show who they are as a person. Story 6. When someone is always venting about the latest thing that annoyed them, if a person only ever acknowledges perceived wrongs in their life, I am inclined to believe they are quite possibly the problem, or they surround themselves with drama and expect someone else to take the initiative to pull them out of it. Story 7. Driving habits. I am not talking about road rage, but about the things that are done and said out loud in the car. Story 8. While the potential transmission of diseases may not be harmless, not washing your hands after using the bathroom increases the risk. I work in a large office building, and if I see someone not washing their hands, I will associate that behavior with them for as long as they work there. Story 9. Cutting all the plastic rings of a 6-pack soda or beer holder before you throw them away. If you know. Yes, they do not make advertising campaigns like they used to. Am I right, 1980s kids? Story 10. Being addicted to Ragebait content farms. Many of these accounts specifically seek cases where the bad guy is some sort of minority, oppressed group, or a group relevant to an ongoing political situation, in the hopes that the viewer uses them as a basis to judge all the people from that group. Story 11. Do they put their shopping cart away? It is a great barometer of people because everyone knows it is the right thing to do, but there are no consequences for not doing it. Story 12. When we are in our very small office together and you cannot wear headphones, Brandon. This comment might say more about me. I do not know. Please wear headphones in shared spaces when possible. I have serious sound sensory issues. Multiple people watching multiple videos makes my blood boil. Story 13. Being nice to people for no reason at all. I hate that whole people need to earn my respect idea. No, you should be respectful to everyone no matter what. Obviously, if that person starts being rude to you, then by all means be rude back, but too many people are just being rude right off the bat. Pisses me off. Just be nice, people. It is not that hard. Story 14. Calling themselves brutally honest without provocation. Translation. They say rude things and expect a medal for it. Story 15. Parking in spaces meant for disabled and elderly when they themselves are not. Some conditions can be hidden, such as prosthetics. But if someone you know is perfectly able and does this, then it is a telltale sign. Also, the company someone keeps. If they hang around with unpleasant people, then they are probably one too. Treatment of others, particularly those less fortunate. How they prioritize you as a friend. Are they always bailing on plans, asking for cash loans, or talking behind people's backs? How they treat their partner when they think no one is watching. How they treat their pets. How they drive. Are they putting others at risk without care? Speaking well about themselves. This is a tricky one. My rule of thumb is always if it seems like they are gloating or praising themselves for something basic, then it is probably off. People who describe themselves as nice are often not very nice. This is my experience. Someone actually nice does not say it. They just do nice things consistently. There could be a long list of these. What is important is to judge someone on their actions. What do they do? Do not listen to their own description of themselves. Do not even listen to others. Make up your own mind. Many people can easily appear nice, but behind the mask, it is not quite what they show themselves to be. It can often take a long time for the cracks to show in a facade. Story 16. Feeding wildlife when there are clear signs saying not to is harmful. It shows that the person is willing to put the animal and future visitors at risk for a few seconds of temporary pleasure from feeding the animal. Story 17. How people treat their pets matters. If pets are untrained, fed and watered but otherwise ignored and not played with daily, that is concerning. It is also problematic when someone gets a pet expecting it to be low maintenance. No living being is low maintenance. If that is what you want, get a stuffed animal. Additionally, people who frequently get kittens and puppies and consistently have to rehome them are demonstrating neglect. This is essentially pet neglect, even when it is normalized. Story 18. People who put their feet on subway or bus seats show complete disregard for others, lack hygiene and manners. I find this incredibly rude and an indication of low-quality behavior. Close behind are those who take a seat for their bag when others are forced to stand and do not make space. Story 19. When someone else's family members, such as disabled people, children, or elderly relatives, are struggling, for example, a wheelchair gets stuck and blocks an area, someone is having a screaming fit, or there are crying babies, do you? A glare from a distance. B. Ignore it and move on with your life. C. Offer to help. If you choose B or C, that is acceptable. Offering to help is kind, and ignoring it is reasonable. If you choose A, that is disrespectful. Conversely, if you have children and you allow them to run freely in a restaurant, bar, brewery, or winery, it is your responsibility to monitor them. Even in public or when you are out for yourself, if your child cannot sit at a table with you and keep a reasonable volume, you should not be in that place. You need to get a babysitter, provide them with an iPad, take them to a safe place where running around is allowed, or make other appropriate arrangements. Story 20. Engaging with a shy or quiet person to ensure they are included in a group setting is important. Social anxiety is difficult for many people, so when someone makes the effort to include a quieter person, it demonstrates kindness and emotional intelligence. Story 21. They instinctively turn their body toward you when you talk to them. They tend to be genuinely humble people. They also put their hand on their heart when they refuse an offer. Story 22. When you are in a conversation and one participant is suddenly cut off mid-sentence, you go back when you can and let them finish what they were saying. Story 23. I always pick up other people's trash when I'm in nature, mountains, etc. Does it say something about me? I don't know. Respecting nature and being kind should be normal. Story 24. People in restaurants who stack their empty plates and help the waiter or waitress by picking them up and handing them over do so in the easiest way. Also, people who return grocery carts to their proper place are doing the right thing. Story 25. Harmless. As in having a person pay for dinner, but then treat you like garbage and throw it in your face? Yes, I do not accept things from people anymore unless I know their full intentions. Story 26. The way they treat service personnel, whether bartenders, waitresses, waiters, or fast food servers, reveals a lot about their character. If they treat these workers poorly or consider them beneath themselves, it tells you all you need to know about them. Everyone should be treated the same when you first meet them. Then you can make an assessment and treat them accordingly. This is how I approach things. Story 27. Tailgating. Entering the merge lane and then cutting back in during heavy traffic. Cutting into the shoulder to reach an exit. Story 28. Not saying thank you after the door is held open for you. My wife laughs now because she knows I will definitely say you are welcome in an obnoxious way when they just walk through. Story 29. Thanking people by their name, which is obvious because of their name tag. They get so shocked. Feels great to feel personalized. Thanking cleaners and people doing the thankless jobs, the invisible people we walk by every day. Story 30. How people speak about cats. Those who do not respect your boundaries often speak ill of cats and their behaviors. Cats are a masterclass in emotional intelligence, respecting boundaries, listening to body language, and most importantly, consent. Story 31. Entering a men's restroom and dropping your pants and underwear to urinate, also known as having buttocks exposed while urinating, is something a urologist where I work does. It is always shocking to me. Story 32. how they act when they are intoxicated. Not that being intoxicated should be a habit, because if it reaches the point where it could be called a habit, it is not a harmless amount of drinking. Generally, when someone becomes intoxicated, it becomes easier to understand their personality. Almost everyone I know who has been intoxicated on multiple occasions acts the same way when intoxicated. Among my friend group, this is usually being more relaxed and talkative with a strong urge to play pool. I have seen strangers enter pubs appearing like regular people, only to be removed 2 hours later for attempting to attack the bartender for cutting them off. Story 33. When people engage in self-affirming laughter, also known as validation laughter, immediately after they say something, it is usually sardonic. Late middle-aged people are particularly prone to this. Good thing this shuttle bus has air conditioning. Ha 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 ha. I was too tired to play tennis last night. Ah ha 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 ha. Nobody else is laughing, and it was not particularly funny. It is a display of internal insecurity leading to validation seeking, framed in what they think is a humorous context. They can use it to try to reinforce their own point, to signal a social cue like, I'm clever or please agree with me, or to create a forced sense of camaraderie or lighten a banal statement. In linguistics, this laughter can be a form of prosodic tagging, using tone, rhythm, and nonverbal cues to frame how the listener should interpret what was said, basically saying, laugh with me now. Like vocal fry, once you hear it, you cannot unhear it. It reveals a lot about the mental state of the person speaking at that moment. Story 34. Not returning the shopping cart after use and leaving it in a random spot in the parking lot. Story 35. Always being slightly late. I have severe executive dysfunction, and despite my best efforts, I am always out of time for everything. Even if I leave on time, I generally misjudge how long tasks will take, such as loading things and children into the car, traffic, and parking. The advice to just leave earlier does not work when it constantly feels like there are not enough hours in the day. Story 36. Writing a diary or journal. Art, like drawing, is especially an expression of what they have seen or are going through. Story 37. Not returning your shopping cart to the rack. Parking in handicapped spots. Parking in front of the grocery store and forcing people to go around you. Story 38. How people handle interruptions says a lot about patience, ego, and the need to be heard. Some people pause and listen while others talk louder. Story 39. Wanting to continuously improve yourself can often mean over-accepting blame for events that do not help, or assuming that there is always something you need to do to change yourself or fix something. It looks positive but can often be a sign of someone lacking self-confidence or an independent sense of motivation. Story 40. Whether they put away things when they are done using them, such as shopping carts or weights at a gym. When they pause in conversation to allow a response, especially if the other person is not a native language speaker. Story 41. Whenever I go out, I tend to act like I work there. I want to clean up after myself before leaving a restaurant. I dislike asking a waiter for too many things. I always want to put clothes back after trying them on rather than leaving them on the rack to avoid creating more work for the employee. My partner noticed this in me, and I realized it is because I never want someone to feel like I think they are beneath me. So whenever people act like it is their job in a condescending way, it drives me absolutely insane. I may overdo it, but I find it revealing. Story 42. The original poster asked about habits, but this thread mainly tries to answer a generic question. What actually reveals a lot about a person? This is a common question on the forum, but it was not what was being asked. A good habit to apply is to read the question again after giving your answer and take a moment to consider whether your answer is actually addressing the question, or if the question merely made you think of something else that is irrelevant. That said, I doubt any actual habits truly reveal much about a person. People are too complex to determine characteristics based on habits, since both having certain habits or not having them can have many causes. Even identifying something as a habit in other people can be difficult, takes a lot of time, and provides little insight into why such a habit might exist. Story 43. Gossiping about other people every time they are with you. What are the chances they are not gossiping about you the moment you walk away and speak with someone else? Story 44. Not having a filter. People who make inappropriate jokes or statements at the wrong time, whether accidental or not, demonstrate a lack of impulse control. They also have a habit of exposing people's private insecurities for laughs. They are unlikely to consider the consequences of their actions, and how their words may hurt others often slips their minds. Story 45. I understand the shopping cart situation, and I will admit that I almost always walk my cart back to the store or into a stall. The only exception is when I have my daughter with me, and I cannot find a parking spot near a stall. She is a toddler now, but I am not walking halfway across the lot to put up my cart and leaving my infant alone in the car. I am not going to leave my child vulnerable to danger if I can help it, especially being a 5-foot, 120-pound woman. Any other time, no big deal, I do not mind the walk. But not when my child is there. I understand if other parents would not do the same, whether it is mom or dad. There are also situations where someone is elderly or disabled and cannot risk walking back to the car without the cart to hold on to. For whatever reason, they might only be able to make it to the car. I believe a little empathy goes a long way. Maybe a lot of those stray carts are from people being lazy, but many are surely there for justifiable reasons in my opinion. I know this is not the answer to this question, but I saw many people giving that answer and thought I would share my perspective. Story 46. Being late. If you are 5 or fewer minutes late, that is totally understandable, but only a few times. If you are 5 to 15 minutes late with a valid reason, that is also fine, but again only a few times and only with communication. If you are routinely 10 or more minutes late, I will cut you out of my life quickly. I have severe time blindness with my attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, so I accommodate myself by setting plenty of alarms and planning to arrive early. It is truly not that hard to be on time, and not giving the small amount of effort it takes to be timely shows a bigger issue of disrespecting other people's time and effort. If they do not care about wasting your time, then they will take advantage of other things too, every single time. Story 47. Too many small lies. A little here or there to get out of difficult situations is acceptable, but if someone tells small lies everywhere, why would you believe they are telling you the truth? Story 48. People who look down all the time. People tell me I just have a sad personality, and the first sign of that to them is that I look down when I sit across from people. Story 49. Blowing your nose at the table or near food is inappropriate. I once went to a Halloween party and saw a friend blowing his nose in the kitchen where all the food was. The bathrooms were literally right there. He did not wash his hands afterward either. I never looked at him the same after witnessing that. Story 50. How people treat service workers is important. I cannot stand it when people are rude to wait staff or retail workers. Story 51. How someone treats service workers says a lot about their empathy, patience, and how they act when they think they have power over someone. If someone is rude to a waiter, cashier, or cleaner, that is a red flag no matter how charming they are elsewhere. Story 52. The way they talk about their ex, other people, and their past struggles. Their attitude when they make mistakes. How they are around animals, children, and the elderly. How they eat. How they walk. How patient they are when things do not turn out the way they expect. How they behave when texting. Whether they pay attention to small details. Whether they curse at themselves for making small mistakes, whether they listen well, whether they answer directly or go in circles. And their facial expressions are all important. Obviously, people can mask their attitude as much as they want, but their body language will reveal the truth. Story 53. Putting the shopping cart in the corral with the rest of the herd rather than leaving it out to pasture. Story 54. Nail biting. I cannot speak for others, but for me, there was a much more intense feeling behind why I did it for 28 years of my life. Story 55. Trying to pick up trash left by other people. I do that, so now I am also someone who talks about himself. Checkmate. Story 56. People who constantly interrupt you the moment you start talking, even when you give them the space to speak first. The moment you begin talking, they immediately interrupt to say something all the time. Frankly, it is exhausting. Story 57. I knew a person at university who would say, I do not know enough about that to have an opinion, and actively try learning about the topic before forming an opinion. I really respect that and try to do it too. Story 58. Exercising too much, speaking from my own perspective. shows that the person is insecure about their appearance and is constantly trying to change themselves. At least that is why I do it. Story 59. The way they treat animals. Specifically, if they are the type of people who think hamsters just die in 1 year, so why should they spend a lot of money on a cage? If you do not care about small creatures who cannot defend themselves, how can I trust you to care about me? Story 60. People who always complain, even when they have everything right in front of them, reveal a lot about themselves. It shows a lack of gratitude and an inability to appreciate what they have. Instead of focusing on the good, they constantly find reasons to be unhappy. To me, it says more about their mindset and priorities than about what they are complaining about. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.